وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Question comes from BA London, or says Assalamu alaikum, BA London, UK. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you well and keeps you sincere. I have two questions that have been troubling me and I hope that you can answer. First question we answered last night with regards to hadith criticism and Shia hadith. We discussed that in detail. Tonight's question 2 says, what will be our response to someone who wanted to reintroduce slavery today as it was in the time of the Prophet? Do we have any dalil to condemn that? In brackets it says, please note, I fully understand that slavery at the time of the Prophet was completely different to the slavery of the colonial powers in recent centuries. May Allah reward you well. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First and foremost is, you have to understand that slavery is considered to be a product of something else. It's a result, a fruit, a consequence of many other things. Whether those things are jihad fi sabilillah, whether those things are surrender, whether those things are inheritance. There are many different reasons and causes behind the constitution of slavery in Islam. So with that being said, if the slavery is the sum, the product, the fruit, the consequence, the child of many parents, then obviously before the child can be in existence, there has to be the parents. Whether it's jihad fi sabilillah, whether it is a dominant Muslim strength and power in which the non-Muslims surrender and says we don't want to fight, whether it is a person that was already a slave and they were passed down, they were inherited. Everybody understand this? And the list goes on. So before you get into someone who wishes to reintroduce slavery as it was in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, then these other things must be in existence. These other things must be in existence. Everybody clear on this? That's first and foremost. Secondly is, for us to ask ourselves the critical question, is slavery in Islam, we know that it's permissible. We're not apologetics. We're not hadith rejectors. We're not Quran rejectors. We're not people that are trying to be progressive and modern and appease the kuffar. No. La. But is slavery something that is mandatory in Islam? Is it something that's recommended in Islam? Or is it something that is at least permissible and it means as an alternative, and which is the best option from among 3 or 4 other options which are far worse? Everybody understand this? Is it something which is maqsood li dhatihi? Is it something that is an objective? Is it something that the Sharia intends and goes after specifically for what it is? Or, as we said, is it a byproduct of other things which are maqasid of the deen? Such as Islam being superior, Islam being dominant, the Sharia being uppermost, the Muslims having the quwwah, the Muslims having the izzah. Everybody understand this? The Sharia being the constitution of the land. And as a result of that, there are people, what is to be done with these people? Are they to be killed? Are they to be pushed into exile? Are they to be starved to death? Are they to be enslaved? And the list goes on. And the Sharia, and often, or many other issues, it makes an alternative. It makes a what? An alternative. The best option in this situation is heather. Not to say and not to mean that this is something which Allah Azza wa Jalla wants and needs. Something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends from the get-go. Such as the izzah of the Muslims. That's maqsood li dhatihi. That's something which is intended for Islam to be strong and powerful and dominant. But the other things that come as a result of that are not necessarily things which are maqsooda bi dhatiha. Things in which it is actually an intention and an objective of the legislation. Hopefully this is clear. So we have to ask ourselves this question. So if I want to reintroduce slavery, why? Because slavery in itself is ibadah. Slavery in itself is something that the Sharia wants. Or slavery was a what? Alternative. Everybody understand this? And from the things which make us have a clear understanding on this issue is the concept of the emancipation of slaves in Islam. It is one of the unique acts of worship, which are mentioned from the very first days of the Meccan period in Juz Amma all the way to the last days of the Madani period, in which all levels of the evolution of the Sharia, of the legislation, is mentioned. Tahriru raqaba, fakku raqaba, raqabatin mu'mina. It's mentioned from Surah An-Nisa, from Surah Al-Balad. Allah talks about emancipating a slave. Before there was detailed legislation in Mecca, and after there was detailed legislation in Medina. The Quran clearly talks about the emancipation of slaves because it's something which is maqsood bidatihi. It is an objective of the deen is to emancipate people and not to make them slaves and people who are owned and possessed by other human beings, but slaves of Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, the concept of the virtue, the excellence, and the encouragement of the deen to manumit slaves. So much so as that there are several rulings in which the Sharia has what one would say much more leniency. And one may even say a quote-unquote double standard with regards to emancipating slaves. A contract, buying, selling, marriage, divorce, it won't count. But when it comes to emancipating a slave, it counts because the Sharia is pushing the people to emancipate slaves. So all of these things, they clearly show us that slavery itself, one could possibly say, is not necessarily maqsoodun bidatihi. It's not something which is a direct objective of the Sharia. Rather, it is a alternative of the Sharia, something that is the best option from among others which are far worst. Hopefully this is clear in brief, and Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. What is the difference between inaba and tawbah? Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. With regards to the difference between inaba and tawbah, then first and foremost, some of the ulama of Islam say that they are synonymous. There's no difference between the two. Tawbah is inaba and inaba is tawbah. All right, both are mentioned in the Quran, and more than one place, several places. And some of the scholars of Islam say that they are synonymous, and they both mean repentance. They both mean returning to Allah, having regret, having remorse, feeling bad, and returning to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one view. Other ulama, they say that they are specific in general, that every single inaba includes tawbah, but every tawbah doesn't necessarily include inaba. And others, they say that inaba is a level of tawbah, is a more finely tuned level or station of tawbah. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, من نزل في التوبة وقام مقامها نزل في جميع منازل الإسلام فإن التوبة الكاملة متضمنة لها وهي متدرجة فيها فإذا استقرت قدمه في منزل التوبة نزل بعده منزل الإنابة. انتهى كلامه رحمه الله. Ibn al-Qayyim says, anyone who embarks upon the path, the station of tawbah, then he has embarked upon all stations of Islam. Tawbah, he says, is inclusive of all levels of the deen. Listen to these words. When you repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says it's comprehensively covering all levels, all manazil of the tariq, of the road of Islam. He then says, and that's because the perfect tawbah includes it. And it is, he says, it's attached to it. He says, so when a person is firmly grounded in tawbah, his foot, فَإِذَا اسْتَقَرَّتْ قَدَمُهُ فِيهَا, he's firm upon tawbah. He's avoiding the major sin. He made tawbah from the major sin, he doesn't go back to it. He stopped making the major sins, he doesn't go back to them. He's sincere, he's honest, he has real remorse and regret. He doesn't laugh and smile and think about when he used to do that major sin. The foot is firm in tawbah. He says then he can take the next step and go into inaba. And the inaba is a specific, special level of tawbah, in which a person goes to Allah and he sticks to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's always constantly connected and attached and fastened to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to repentance, with regards to awareness, and with regards to watchfulness. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he has other discussions of these two terms, tawbah and inaba, which he discusses in his book, Madarij al-Salikin. He has a book, a famous book, we've done many classes from, countless khutbahs from, read from, called Madarij al-Salikin. And there's also a tahdhib, a summary of the book that's available as well. As far as is it in English, I don't know. Much of it or some of it I'm sure has been translated into English, especially in the different books that were compiled and put together from Ibn al-Qayyim's works, such as Purification of the Soul, which has Ibn al-Qayyim's words, Ibn Rajab's words, and Ghazali's words. Also the concept of sincere repentance. They made different compilations of the speech of Ibn al-Qayyim, and there are other books as well. Wallahu alam, that's in brief. Kalas.
questions from online, inshallah. Bismillah. First question tonight is from Mohammed Bey, Canada, Ontario, Brampton. Assalamu alaikum. Are RESPs permissible?
Repeat the question.
Are RESP?
RESP?
Yeah.
What's that? RESP. Please explain. What do you mean by that abbreviation? I don't know. Next question.
Bismillah. Zakaria Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum, from Manchester, UK. Ustad, I love you for the sake of Allah. My question is, what is the effective way of learning the Arabic language? Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahabbaka alladhi ahbabtana fihi. Ameen. May Allah love you, the one for whom sake, and may Allah Azza wa Jal gather us all in His Jannah. Ameen. May Allah bless you, my dear brother in Islam and disciple. The best way, or the most thorough way, the complete way to learn the Arabic language, please go back to the videos that we have done on Hadith Disciple. We have devoted several videos on theory and practice of learning Arabic. How to learn Arabic the best way theoretically, and also books that we've taught and explained as well. The importance of learning the Arabic language, fresh juice. We've done many videos just on the topic of Arabic. Perhaps we need to make a playlist just for those theory, the philosophical aspect of looking at things differently. Not to leave you hanging right now, Bidnai Ta'ala, first and foremost is, you got to ask yourself and you got to tell yourself why you need to learn Arabic. Why is it so important? Is it important, or is it just something extra, something that you don't have to do? But if you realize that your existence as a student of knowledge, your survival as a student of knowledge, your excellence as a student of knowledge relies, depends, begins, and ends with the Arabic language, then obviously you're going to have a different approach. Then I can learn without learning Arabic. I can be a student of knowledge without having Arabic. I can be successful without learning Arabic, without being strong, firm in Arabic. So we said the concept of the word, quote unquote, philosophy, meaning your fikr, how you think, how you look at things. Arabic is your lifeblood as a student of knowledge, lifeblood. It's the thing that makes you tick, that makes you move. Arabic. Tafsir ibn Kathir, Sahih al-Bukhari, Aqid al-Wasatiyah, Sharh al-Sunnah, Usul al-Sunnah, all of these different books. They're all written in what? The Arabic language. They were all written and to be understood in the what? The Arabic language, not in English. Everybody clear on this? So this just from the get-go is that you have to have your mind right together. That I have to learn Arabic. Once you have the concept of that what you have to do, that what you need, then you look at the virtue of learning and the excellence of learning. I don't have to depend on no translators anymore. This translator, one day he's Salafi, the next day he's Mubtadi', Didian. This is a reality. Get rid of his translations. That's a hardship. One day he's the best translator in the dunya. Next, oh, he has problems and issues. Now you're stuck. You're at the mercy of a scholar or a website or a brother or a dad. You're at their mercy. And they can filter and give you information how they see fit. But if you know the Arabic language yourself, that's not all the keys. That's not all the things that you need, but it's a big step towards picking up the books and actually reading the kalam of the ulama. Everybody understand this? And not the kalam of a translator. Everybody clear on this? Then when you learn the Arabic language, it also allows you to get the keys, such as usul al-fiqh. And then you learn the different terminologies. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, if you work hard enough, if you're sincere, if Allah gives you tawfiq, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, then you can start deducing and extracting certain things by yourself. This is am, this is khas. This is mutlaq. Everybody understand? This is nasikh. This is mu'awwal, a mustafti, a mufti, a mujtahid, a muqallid. You start learning these terms, and then you can read and pick up the book and find out this haram based off of kada. Then you start learning mustalah al-hadith. What is hadith mursal? What is hadith shadh? Who is it mukhadram? What is a mustakhraj? Everybody understands what's the definition of a muwatta? Then you start learning ilm al-rijal. Who's thiqa? Who's da'if? Who's maqbool? Who's tabi'i? Who's majhool? Mastur al-hal? And the list goes on. And then you can actually start going into the actual sciences. Fiqh. Nafi said, fiqh. Everybody understand this? Or hadith. You start reading the books of Aqidah yourself. And you can not only read by yourself, but you can also sit with more people and learn with more people and get more nurturing. So Arabic language is key. So I would say one of the biggest problems of not knowing Arabic is that you're at the hands, the mercy of somebody. And as we just said before, we all know the current day dawah scene today. One day a person is Shaykh al-Islam, and the next day he's Shaitan Rajim. Literally. One day he's a mujahid, lahu juhudun azima. He has great efforts in teaching the hadith and the sunnah, and the next day he's munharif. And he's worse than the Jews and the Christians. If you want to keep being a victim of this game, then learn Arabic and do away with this one and do away what? With that one. It's like money. You don't have no money, so you have to go and beg people. If they give you, they want to give you. If they don't want to give you, what? They won't give you. But you have your own money. You own yourself. I don't have to beg and rely on anybody. So it's very important. So this is one of the reasons why I would say, which would be a driving force, and you learning the Arabic language. As far as how to do it, then to keep things brief, I would say to you and to anyone else who's listening, is start off with basic vocabulary words. Start off with basic expressions. Start off with basic greetings. Start off with learning how to ask certain basic questions. Start off by the Arab nursery rhymes. Learn Arabic like you're a kid, like you're a baby. And don't start off with a technical book, a book that's dealing with grammar, a book that's dealing with sarf. Stay away from these technicalities. But learn bidinata like you're a small, tiny Arab baby. Just like you would teach somebody ABCs, hooked on phonics. The cat, the hat, the rat, the bat, sat on the mat. This is reality. That's how you do what? That's how you learn English properly. But the foreigner who comes from another country and he picks up Shakespeare or Othello or this book, he starts talking all technical, but he can't express himself. And his English is robotic and stiff and mechanical. It's not smooth and fluid. Everybody understand this? This is a reality. So this is my advice, is to be fluid, move, have no form. And that starts off by learning the language like a young baby. They don't give these books to young children in preschool and kindergarten. They give them little songs, little rhythms, little poems, little things that are easy to memorize and to connect one word to 10 other words. Rat, hat, cat, bat, mat, sat. Now, once you hear it, you know the proper pronunciation of it. You know how to properly spell it. A hat, a bat, a rat, and a cat. And you also know the culture behind the language. It's no accident why there is what? They have what? Dr. Seuss. Everybody understand this? Some of the greatest poets and musicians, they'll tell you, you read their biographies, how are you so intellectual? And you say what you said, and you write such great and amazing, perplexing rhymes. One of them said, Dr. Seuss. My mother used to read to me Dr. Seuss every night. And there's a reason behind that. And then as you get strong in that, then you move on to other things. And learning basic grammar and basic stuff and putting sentences together, yes. Because the ultimate goal of the Arabic language is not Dr. Seuss. The ultimate goal is not nursery rhymes. The ultimate goal is Sahih Bukhari, is Kitab al-Tawheed. That's the ultimate goal, is to get closer to Allah. But do you want stiff, rigid Arabic? Or do you want to be what? Smooth. The next very important key is to have a teacher, have a good teacher. Become a disciple of someone that can give you personal attention. And it's a very important point that I'm going to mention, which is one of the proofs of the weakness of the people's, what they say today. Don't take from this one. Don't study with him. Oh, don't benefit from him. No, you can't learn from him. No, you can't. No, he has problems. No problem. Many people who say this about people, they themselves are totally unavailable for the people. You call someone, no answer. Email them, no reply. You go to the masjid, I don't have no time. Change my number. Who do you have access to that's going to give you actual personal what? A time and tarbiyah, in which they're going to actually take you under their wing and give you the secrets and show you how to understand the book. How many people are out there like that? The average person, they don't want to be involved with nobody. And we're talking about actual teaching, not lectures. We're talking about what? Actual what? Actual what? Mutun. And not just what? Blah, 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 lecturing and talking. But actually tutoring you, nurturing you, taking them under their wing as your disciple and give you personal time and attention. You need that learning Arabic. You need that what? Learning Arabic. You may not be able to get that. You may have to start off teaching yourself, but there must come a time when you have to have some type of personal attention. And most importantly is that you learn in progressive steps. Don't try to hurdle it all at once. Step by step, piece by piece. You learn things day by day, inch by inch. Bidinai subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to be consistent. You got to be consistent. You got to be persistent. You got to be hungry. You got to be aggressive. You got to dream it, not at night, but in the daytime. As a wise man once said, he says, dangerous men are not those who dream at night. He says a true dangerous man is a man who dreams in the daytime. Because many people, they dream at night and they wake up and they forget about their dreams. But those who dream in the daytime actually actualize those dreams. And they turn those dreams into realities. So you got to want the Arabic. You got to take no, I'm not taking no for an answer. He says, no, I'm too busy, go back again and again and again. If he doesn't teach you, go somewhere else. You have to search for it. And the average person who wants to learn Arabic, according to what they say, let alone hadith and these other sciences, they're not really hungry. They're not really persistent. They're not willing to give. They're not willing to be patient. They want everything to be smooth and soft and comfortable. And they say, I want to learn. And that is obviously a what? That's a joke. When I started learning Arabic language in the city of Philadelphia, there were countless brothers that were ahead of me. Many brothers that I used to look up to. I used to think, wow, I'll never be able to speak Arabic like him. And one of the things that allowed me to catch up to them, let alone leave them, quote unquote, in my dust. I'm not saying this arrogantly. I'm saying this to prove a point. I'm saying this to prove a point. Is to do what? Is that I was hungrier than they were. Some of them were smarter than me. Some of them were studying longer than me. Some of them were older than me, but they weren't as hungry as I was. And I sat back and I said, I'm going to take this and snatch this because I want it and I have to have it. So that should have to be your attitude. If that's not your attitude, being a student of knowledge, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your teacher's time. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you.
Inshallah, Bismillah. Mohammed Beg, Canada, Ontario, Brampton. Assalamu alaikum. Registered education savings plans, are they permissible?
So are
registered education savings plans. I don't know the details of this process. The general rule is there's nothing wrong with saving money and investing money for funerals, for your children, for businesses, for college, whatever it may be, as long as it does not go against the Quran and the Sunnah. Whether it's riba, whether it's selling that which you don't own, buying that which you do not, any type of haram transaction. So what's the details of this RESP? Is it invested in stocks which are haram or invested in stocks which are permissible? Answer is there. Is interest added to the money? Is it given to a bank and they give you interest, they give you a benefit, equities, bonds, and all these different terms and things like this? The details will give you the answer to the question. Wallahu alam. Inshallah, we will look into it ourselves. We will search for it and look for it. Inshallah, I'll give you a more detailed answer based off of the detailed knowledge. I cannot give a ruling based off something I don't have details on. I can give you the general ruling as we just did. Wallahu alam.
Inshallah. So, Brother Mohammed Beg, if you can please send your question to hadithdisciple@gmail.com. We will, when the Sheikh will respond, we'll email you. Jazakumullah khair. Next question is from initial ZU from Birmingham, UK. My stepsister has my stepfather's last name. My stepsister has my father's last name, and she thinks my father is her father. Is this haram? And if it is, then is it fard on me to tell her?
It depends on what you mean. She thinks that your father is her father. How old is your stepsister? Is she a young child? She never ever knew her father? Is she a grown woman, adolescent? Yeah, we need to know what's the exact age. Hypothetically speaking, let's say that the girl is very young and she has the exact same last name as your father. And your father was there, married to her mother from day one. He raised her from a small infant baby size, Naam? And he took care of her and he raised her, and she thinks that this man is her father. Then how old is the girl telling the 2-year-old girl, this is not your father, may not be the most wise thing to do. 5-year-old that loves this man, that respects this man, that takes care, may not be the most what? Wise thing to do. When she gets older, mature enough, developed enough, perhaps you sit down and you explain it to her. The truth must be told. But at a young, tiny age, it may cause more harm than what? Than good. Let alone the fact that if the man is her stepfather, and he is doing the things that her father is supposed to do, as if he's her father. And the respect and the love and the things like this are going to be established. Allah knows best.
Tariq ibn Bilal from Flint, Michigan. Assalamu alaikum. There is a brother who is having an issue with one of his wives, requesting for him to ask her permission before he brings his 2-year-old daughter from his other marriage to the house he provides for her. He says he refuses to ask her permission. Is she within bounds to request this?
The answer to this question is the answer I got from my older brother in my city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One day we were sitting in a restaurant and the brother was talking about his experiences in Morocco and when he got married. And he said when I was there, you know, back in the 70s or the 80s, he said that many children would grow up and they wouldn't know who their real mothers were. They wouldn't know what their real mothers were. A man would have 3 wives, and their little small child, little boy, wouldn't know which one of his mother. He wouldn't know. Because all 3 of his eyes would do what? Look after him and treat him like they were his, like they were their what? Came out of their wombs. He wouldn't know who his mother was until he grew up. In other words, these 3 women, they looked at anything that came from the loins of their husbands as what? Their own. And they didn't discriminate and differentiate and have any prejudice. That's the answer to my question. Or that's my answer to that question. Wallahu a'lam.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Abdul Rahman from South Texas. I heard your khutbah yesterday and you mentioned a Muslim shouldn't fear death. Can you give me some advice to us? Can you give some advice to us who have anxiety/dislike of dying?
طيب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Akhi Abdul Rahman, may Allah bless you and your family and all the brothers and sisters in Texas. Don't ever forget, everything's bigger in Texas. So inshallah ta'ala, we're requesting you to just stay with us and make your mind bigger. We're about to pour into it, inshallah. There's no contradiction between a Muslim should not fear death, between it's natural to be afraid of danger, it's natural to be afraid of dying, and the concept of what is nothing wrong with the Muslim enjoying and liking certain things with regards to life. All 3, the first 2 are natural. The third is a high level. So what's meant by the Muslim should not fear death is what? Is that what we meant by that is death doesn't stop the good life, the happiness, the joy, and the bliss. Rather, in reality, it's the beginning of the good life, the happy, the joy, and the bliss. As Allah clearly tells us in the Quran al-Kareem, He says that hereafter, the Dar al-Akhirah, the hereafter, the abode in hereafter, lahi al-hayawan, is the true life. If they only but knew. So the true happiness, the true bliss, the true joy begins at the time of death. What does the Prophet ﷺ tell us about the mujahid, the martyr who dies fighting in Allah's cause? If he knew what Allah had prepared for him, he would ask him to do what? And again, and again, and again. Everybody understand this? So the beginning of your happiness and your bliss is death, is Jannah. Before Jannah is the grave. As the Prophet ﷺ explains to us, the angels that come to him and they ask him the questions and he answers accordingly. And they give him glad tidings of paradise. The smell, the perfume, the aroma of paradise, he sees it, mad al-basar. That all begins at the time of what? Death. So that's what's meant by that. As far as natural fear of danger or injury, then that's something that everybody should try their best to overcome. That's a natural instinct. That's a what? That's a natural instinct. And just because people are brave to die in the cause of Allah, or people are not afraid of death, it doesn't mean that they're not fond of certain things as well. It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy certain things that Allah allows them to enjoy in this worldly life. It doesn't mean there's no contradiction between the three. There's no contradiction between the three. Everybody understand this? So obviously there are levels of Iman. There are levels of Iman. There are what? There are levels of Iman. There are hadiths that tell us not to ask for death. There are hadiths that tell us not to look forward to meeting the enemy. And there are also hadiths that give us the virtue of martyrdom. So there's no contradiction between any of these concepts. As far as anxiety, fear of death, fear of this and fear of that, then just read the Quran and focus and reflect on the Quran. Allah always dispraises this world and He praises thereafter. Allah makes the similitude and a parable of the temporary nature of this dunya and the eternal nature of the hereafter. So just put that on your mind, bidnillahi ta'ala. Think about that. What does that mean? وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ. Allah says, make an example for them. The similitude of the worldly life as water that we send down upon the earth. What does that mean? What's the purpose of that? It becomes dry. It becomes yellow. It becomes brittle and cracked. It crumbles. It goes away. It dissolves. What does this mean? And why? What's the purpose behind all of this? Everybody understand this? That's the best advice that I can give you. Wallahu a'lam.
So let's after this question. Maria Langley, New York, New Jersey. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. How do we balance between the concept of al-wala wal-bara and Islam and having good adab and giving dawah?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Akhi al-Aziz. Marhaba bik. Hayakumullah. Inshallah, you and Abdul Hakim are both doing well. Bidnillahi ta'ala. I would tell you this. Al-wala wal-bara, Umar. Al-wala wal-bara. Loving and hating. Being close and being far. Being loyal and being disloyal. Being connected and being disconnected. Fadl. These concepts and being friendly, being nice, good character and akhlaq and dawah, I don't see how it's any clash. Mutlaqan. I don't see any clash between the two. Period. I love and I hate. My loyalty is known. My lack of loyalty is known. And I also give da'wah. I teach people, I call people. And I have good akhlaq. I don't see how they clash. Whether it's a non-Muslim, you call into Islam. A Muslim, you call into the correct aqidah. A Muslim, you call into the sunnah to leave off bid'ah. To leave off the cultural practice of Islam, whatever the case may be. A sinful Sunni Muslim calling them to obedience, I don't see the contradiction. If I give you dawah, first and foremost, if you're a Muslim, as long as you say La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah, and you have not left the fold of Islam, then there has to be a percentage of wala that I have for you. There has to be a percentage of wala. You're an evil, wicked sinner, but if you're a Muslim, then there's a what? A percentage. Everybody understand this? There has to be a percentage. A pious, righteous Muslim, then there's going to be a what? A great percentage of wala and of hub. And the sinful Muslim, the Muslim that's upon bid'ah, upon that which is against Allah and His Messenger, then the bara is also going to be a what? A percentage, but not 100%. As long as he is a Muslim and he has not left the fold of Islam. So me giving you da'wah and calling you to Islam does not mean I have to agree with what you're doing. It doesn't mean I have to like what you're doing. It doesn't mean I have to condone what you're doing. But I'm calling you to that which is correct. And you being a Muslim and a believer, the iman that you have, I love you for that. And if something is going to happen to you, I'm going to try my best to defend you and protect you and stand up for you. But that which you're clearly wrong in, I have nothing to do with. And that which is haram that you do, I hate you for the sake of Allah. For that and nothing more. That does have no contradiction, let alone good akhlaq. Has no contradiction. The Prophet ﷺ, he informed the Sahaba. He says, "Inna minkum lamunaffirin." He says, from you are those who push people away. From you, listen to this hadith. He said to the Sahaba, from you are those who push people away from Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Bashira wa la tunaffira. He says, give glad tidings and don't run the people away. So it doesn't mean that you have to agree with what someone is doing to have good akhlaq. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, akhi? I shake hand, I smile. It doesn't mean I agree with you shaving your beard. It doesn't mean that. But you're still a Muslim. I hate that act. I'm free from that act, but you're still a Muslim. Perhaps, and Allah knows best, perhaps the secret behind this issue or this problem is the concept of the misunderstanding of da'wah today in 2017 among those who call themselves Salafis or Salafiyin or follow Salafiyah. And they have this concept, not all, but many of them, if not most of them, is that if you go to a masjid and teach, if you sit on a panel or a lecture, if you shake a brother's hand, if you have respect for an elder, then you have wala for them. You love them. You associate yourself with them. These are your friends. You're with them. You support them, and so on 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 and so forth. This is what they propagate and stuff down in people's throats. That is not necessary. That is not required. I can go to a masjid to pray. It does not mean that I agree with everything this masjid is on and upon. That doesn't mean that. Don't you live in America? Do you agree with everything America does? You still live in America. And you eat, you drink, you walk, you sleep, you talk. You don't agree with many things. Hopefully you don't. Maybe you do. So where is the kitab, where is the sunnah, where's the ijma' stating that if I go to someone, that means that I agree with them eye to eye, face to face? Did Abdullah ibn Abbas have that position when he went to the Khawarij? Kilabana. He put on his best clothes. He perfumed himself. He sat in front of them and he asked them, what is the problem that you have with Uthman? Hats. Give me your issues you have with the Khalifa, the one who married two of the Prophet's daughters. Was he agreeing with the Khawarij? Was he watered down? Was he Mumayyid? What's this kalam fadi, this kalam farag that some people say? And once again, we repeat, and it's a very important concept of purging the people from this crap. It's not just students and du'at, mashayikh who say this kalam fadi. What does this mean? If I go somewhere that I have to agree with everything that they do and everything they say, well, man, who said that? Where does that come from? Unless it means that I'm supposed to agree with every single thing that you do and say, you're perfect and I'm perfect. Obviously, that's not Islam. Did the Sahaba not differ? Of course they differed. They fought wars, they fought battles for no other reason except because they did what? They differed. And it doesn't mean they weren't Sahaba and they didn't love each other and they didn't want Allah in the hereafter. But they had ijtihad. And the ijtihad, once a person has it, once a person feels it, it pushes him and it drives him to do that which he feels is right, regardless of what the next man thinks. No disrespect to this companion, we have to fight. No disrespect to that companion, we should not fight. They're both going to follow their what? Ijtihad. And they all stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgiven of their sins, and Allah is pleased with all of them. So this kalam faldi, that if I go somewhere, I agree with everything that they say. And I go to a masjid and I have to speak out against them and talk about them and refute them on every single point. That's kalam farigh. And that is unrealistic speech. That kalam is not true in Saudi Arabia. Do the scholars of Islam, do they agree with everything the government is doing and has done? Do they agree with every political issue, social issue? If you say that, then you're a blind fool. They do not agree with everything. Do they speak out against everything? No, they do not. Refute them. Oh, it's different, Yahi. What's different? And that's a Muslim land, in which the Muslims, 99% Muslims, the total majority. We live as the what? What is this kalam farigh? That has overcome the people's minds and brains. That I have to punch my brother in the face to give him dawah. I have to be nasty and snarling and growling in his face to give him dawah. And I hate you for the sake of Allah. But do you say that to the kuffar? No, you don't. Do you say that to the fusaq, people that are in your inner circle, that call themselves Salafis? No, you do not. We don't have to mention nothing on camera. We all know. With regards to the hideous and heinous crimes that people commit publicly and openly, let alone the things they've been accused of year after year, decade after decade, and you don't say anything about them. So that's kalam farigh. The Quran talks about every type of misguidance. Kufr, shirk, bid'ah, and sin. You only focus on bid'ah. And the deepest thing, and I'll conclude my answer with this, is that you don't refute Ahlul Bid'ah. You don't talk about Ahlul Bid'ah, you refute Ahlul Sunnah. And the proof is, we talk about New York City. We didn't get into Philadelphia. We talk about New York City. Name one person of all of these different masjids, which are clearly not Salafi masjids. They've not been Salafi masjids for the longest time. Name one of them that have been refuted by name. Name one of them that's been refuted by what? By name. Let's start right now. Abidin, Ansar, Siddiq, all of these masjids, Jamaica, Ikna. Name one masjid that these people have refuted by what? By name. Philadelphia. Tell me one masjid. You can go list over 70 masjids in Philadelphia that they've refuted by what? Name. Now let's go to the list of graduates, brothers that are well-known students of knowledge that they've refuted by what? Name, in detail. So you don't refute Ahlul Bid'ah. According to your principles, anyone who doesn't say to themselves Salafi is what? Ahlul Bid'ah. Wallahi, we haven't seen you mention any of their names. Not once. So that's a game. Stop the lies. Stop the kalam fadhi. Be honest, be truthful. Stop lying to the people. Everybody understand this? And we mentioned this years ago about the Khawarij. They'll kill the Muslims and they'll leave off the grave worshippers. You don't refute Ahlul Bid'ah, you refute Ahlul Sunnah. And anyone who goes against you and your perverted, twisted way of thinking is Ahlul Bid'ah, is misguided. Wa iyadhu billah. May Allah protect our hearts.